pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water tower, fly!
Flight outside of speed off. Speed off.
Yikes. You bet. Okay. We don't need any more of these.
Okay, folks, y'all know the drill. Time for another NASA spaceflight stream here this afternoon. It's a daytime launch. Let me know if you can hear me. Give me a 5x5 in chat. John Galloway for NASA Spaceflight here. Also, let me know if you can see a fantastic view of a Falcon 9 rocket. Over there, it's Slick 40. You say Slick 40, it's Space Launch Complex, SLC 40. But you say Slick because that sounds cool. 5x5s across the board in chat, and we are ready to go here, approaching T-minus 45 minutes for the launch of 60 Starlink satellites on the SpaceX Falcon 9. Of course, it's never just me in the studio. We've got a bunch of other people on the stream today, starting with Thomas, who has rolled out to the causeway today to set up this NASA spaceflight remote. Thomas, how are the comms right now? I know we were having some signal hiccups.
Right now they're okay. I don't know how much you'll hear from me today, but it's a gorgeous day here on the causeway. Very clear skies and a nice warm Florida day, so should be a great day for launch. And I know weather is predicted to be pretty good for today's launch as well, so should be everything should be on track for a liftoff at 12:34 local.
All right, good deal, y'all. That's Thomas Berghart. He is out there in the field, ITL causeway today, right, Thomas?
Yes, sir.
All right. So he has rolled all the way down from Daytona with all the remote camera gear and will bringing us this up close and personal view of the launch, scheduled for just about 45 minutes here. Did I do? Nope, that's not Thomas. Why is that my picture with Thomas's information? Anyways, whatever.
One of the server hamsters is getting fired.
Yeah, we're firing that server hamster. There, it just fixed itself. I'm not sure what just happened, but that's okay. Folks, there's Thomas Burkhardt right there. Also, you just heard the voice of Chris Gebhardt. Let's see what Chris Gebhardt's profile photo looks like today.
Ooh,
Survey says...
Oh, it's correct.
Chris! I know. How you doing, Chris? Assistant Managing Editor for NASA Spaceflight, dialing in remotely. How's it going today?
I'm doing okay today. Always a good day when we have a rocket launch, right?
Absolutely. Y'all, we're going to get back into exactly what the mission and that sort of stuff is in just a second. I think we've got one other person on comms right now. I'm talking really slowly to give her notice that I need her to... Oh, there. Hey, Julia, how's it going?
Why, hello, Doss. It's going great.
Excellent. Folks, that's the voice of Julia Bergeron. She will be joining us, one of the photographers and resident fleet experts out there at the Cape. How you doing today, Julia?
I'm doing great. And you want to take a guess where I am today?
I don't. Where are you?
Well, the resident port expert is in port, so she can watch a launch and see one of her favorite fairing catcher ships who's still in port. So I kind of wanted to have that little sentimental view, and maybe the guys will be out watching. I don't know, but I kind of wanted to be here for their last launch, so I am watching from a marina in Port Canaveral today and joining you on stream.
Good deal. Folks, if you missed the news yesterday, hopping into Starlink here in just a second.
Yeah.
But yesterday, for the last time, Julia, I think, right? Miss Tree, one of the fairing catchers, left port yesterday, didn't it?
It did, and I couldn't be down here for it, and it's bittersweet. It was a test trial, right? Catching these fairings from the sky, and it proved that that was more challenging than they kind of thought it would be. So we still scoop fairings, and there are reused fairings on this mission, actually, to be exact. Both fairing halves. They scooped them now, and the arms came off. They're going back to Louisiana to find new homes with Geis Offshore, so somebody else will be leasing them in the future. And yeah, so here we are, and Ms. Mischief is still in port with a little bit of stripping to do before they send her back to Louisiana.
Yeah, and folks, what Julia's talking about there, remember the fairing catchers, those big wacky net ships, right, that had the big nets on top? SpaceX, via tweet from Elon, I think it was either this morning or yesterday, Wow. Laggy on the camera control
That
there.
was
Sorry,
this
that's
morning,
me.
yeah.
Elon tweeted out that they were no longer going to try to catch those fairings. They were actually going to be scooping them out of the water with the new ship. What's the name of the new ship?
The new ship that is in use is Shelia Bordelon, and Bordelon, sorry. She's an ROV ship, and she's a little pricey. So she's, as far as we've heard so far, she's a proof of concept ship. The concept is that you can do multiple missions, and you can scoop them out with a crane. And this crane has proven to be very, very effective, both bringing them on deck, and it looks like they can fit 4 fairing halves on deck. You can bring 4 fairing halves into Port Canaveral and offload them in a matter of minutes compared to offloading 2 of the previous design fairing catcher ships. So
Gotcha.
it
So
sounds
SpaceX,
like this is a loaner.
SpaceX sort of trading 2 ships for 1 ship there, maybe a temporary solution, that ship that has the big crane. Of course, we can't show it to you on Fleet Cam right now because it's out there supporting the launch today. So speaking of which, Chris, yeah, that's what's next. Chris, what's going on today?
Well, actually, before we go into what's going on today, I just wanted to say a congratulations to Julia, because it was her first written article earlier this week for NSF. Not only is she a port chaser, but she's also a reporter and a writer for us, and her first piece was fabulous, talking about some of the developments with Starship and the Sidco Road facility and stuff like that. And just wanted to say congratulations, Julia, because it was a really, really awesome article.
Why, thank you very much. And I just want to say a thank you to Thomas, because he was my mentor in writing my first article for NSF. So it was kind of a team effort there, and it was a joy to finally be able to give an update on what's going on around here for Starship.
Yeah.
Good
So anyway,
deal.
just
Yeah.
wanted to point that out before we delve into why we're actually here with 40 minutes to go.
Yeah, well, Chris, tell us why we have gathered here today at the Church of the Rocket Launches to witness, I don't know, whatever's going to happen. You're going to tell us, right?
Yes, all be seated.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll stop there because I could go on and that would get rough soon. We are here for, depending on how you classify it, the 24th overall launch, dedicated launch of Starlink Satellites, or what is more officially known as the Starlink version 1.0 Launch 23 mission, which just rolls right off the tongue. Basically, it's more Starlinks. So this will be the 23rd flight of the version 1 operational Starlinks, which are comprising the initial orbital shell, the initial constellation, which is the one that they have been building here since November of 2019. This lower shell operates in the 550 kilometers above Earth's surface with inclinations of 53 degrees. And that sort of allows them to pass over a large percentage of the Earth's surface and see the most of Earth's surface as they provide internet, high-speed, reliable internet to very remote places where you don't need a landline. And as you just heard there, over the ComNet, the launch director pulled go for propellant loading. So at T-minus 38.5 minutes here, they are ready to begin the process of loading the Falcon 9 with its propellant. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this particular flight will take 60 more of these version 1 Starlings into orbit. They will initially be dropped off in a roughly 270 kilometer orbit. And then they will be activated and then slowly raised up to their 550 kilometer operational altitude. And with this, a lot of the initial constellation will be complete. Actually, this will bring the total number of operational ones launched into the 1300s, and it is 1500, just over 1500 that is needed for that initial shell. So actually, the initial shell will be completed based on our calculations. That initial orbital shell will be completed with the Starlink L28 mission, and this is L23. So we are getting close to that initial 1584 satellite initial shell, which would cover 80% of the Earth's surface. So pretty cool.
Excellent. And those are those, what do we always say? Like, go, internet rocket, go? A lot of people call
Yes,
this the
go internet rocket, go. Yeah.
because it's carrying those the Starlink internet satellites up to the orbit, like Chris was saying there, folks. I've got questions in chat here, Chris.
Yes.
Which I can hop over. And then also, hey, a couple super chats real quick. Y'all know we do it live. We have these live streams. We do live commentary. We let you know our thoughts and feelings while we wait for these activities to occur here in 36 minutes at the Cape. But JD Brown, thank you so much for the super chat, the $5. With a little bit of a question here, Chris. How many pounds does one Starlink satellite weigh? And what's it equivalent to the weight of? Like how much is pounds, kilograms? How can we talk about the mass of these Starlink satellites?
Yeah, so each of the version 1 Starlink satellites is 260 kilograms. I'm going to do a quick conversion for that for you, which is 573 pounds. So each one is 260 kilograms or 573 pounds. Oh my gosh, what is that equivalent to? Off the top of my head, I'm like, I don't know what's 500 some odd pounds or 260 kilograms.
I mean, 500 is like there in the middle. It's less than a car, because a car is going to come in at like 3,600 pounds. But it's not like anything really that you have around your house. I mean, I don't know how much a refrigerator weighs.
Yeah, I don't think it's that much. Anyway, I mean, it's not an insignificant amount. But what is cool... Exactly. Yeah, but what is really cool about them is their flat design. So they're not like a 260 kilogram bulky satellite, right? Okay. So here we go. A 260 kilogram satellite, Electron could launch that one and have room to spare for ride shares to low Earth orbit.
So the Rocket Lab rocket could launch one of those from a mass perspective. I don't know about from a size perspective. But from a mass perspective, gotcha.
Exactly, if it's bulky, right? Because if you're the big primary satellite, you've got all of that room in Electron's fairing, right? But the trick with Starlink is you have to get as many of them as possible in there. So they're 260 kilograms, but they're flat, which means you can stack a lot of them together. So the total mass for the mission ends up being close to 16,000 kilograms or 32,000 pounds. Which is about the maximum that a Falcon 9 can launch to low Earth orbit and still be recovered at sea.
Gotcha.
And I do believe we have crossed the propellant loading barrier. So a quick update on what's happening is Falcon 9 is drinking up all of the propellants that it needs for liftoff right now. With RP1 kerosene and densified liquid oxygen flowing into the stage 1 booster. And just RP1 kerosene going into the second stage right now.
Excellent. I'm going to grab a couple more super chats here, and then I've got some regular non-super chat questions I've been grabbing out of the queue as well. Folks, remember, we do these streams live, like I was saying, and if you have a question for us, tag us at NASASpaceflight in chat. If you're over on Twitch, just be like, hey, DOS. You just asked me on Twitch. But we have some cool software that will pull the questions into the queue. We display them on the screen. We can answer them. You don't have to super chat to ask a question, but we will try to get to as many as we can. We cannot get to all of them. Here is one from Rough Riders, Chris. A really quick super chat question. Are the KSC Launchpad tours back up and running?
You know, I actually read from my colleague Emery Kelly at Florida Today earlier this morning. He said that the tour buses were still running, and I admit that was the first I had heard of it. So apparently they are, but with everything in this pandemic, I would highly recommend you call in advance, because I don't know if it's general tours or if it's specialized, but all I can say is that there was a tweet that he was out there. Yeah, Julia.
Yeah, Julia.
The last update I heard was that by reservation, you can take a bus out to the Saturn V Center.
Okay.
So I don't think the buses are running past the pads or the VAB or anything. Well, I mean, technically past the VAB to get to the Saturn V Center, but as far as going into Kennedy Space Center or to pads or any of the special interest tours, I do believe that the bus to Saturn V by reservation is their trial to see what they'll be able to do in the future.
There you go. Makes sense. Yeah, a cautious way to sort of start getting getting back to things. So there you go.
All right, good question there. Again, they're talking about Rough Riders. There is talking about these tours you can go on from the visitor center, right? You can go over to Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex, and you can actually take a bus, or you could in the past take a bus tour and drive around some of the pads. There's like a historic tour. There's like a pad tour. You can go over to the Saturn V Center and see that big Saturn V they have there. But that is a fantastic place to visit if you're ever down that way. Hey, Sparky Kids, thank you for the membership. Appreciate you there. Casper VLD. True to his word, downloading our videos off of Twitter with one of those Twitter downloader bots. Casper, you did not have to come through with the super chat, but you said you would on the next live stream. Thank you so much for stopping by today, saying, "Hey, Dawson crew, greetings from a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." Casper, old time friend there, Chris, stopping by with the super chat.
Thank you.
So we appreciate you stopping in, Casper. Hope we get to see a launch here together today.
Indeed, and Dosh, I want to take a look at that payload fairing. You can actually see the soot that it experiences, like as it separates and goes through the plume of the rocket and then comes into the atmosphere. You can actually see the payload fairing starting to get sooty as well, because since we're talking about them, hang on. Yep. I've got it here somewhere. Hang on. The payload fairings are both reused. One half, so the passive half that doesn't have any of the avionics or anything inside of it to do the separation. Previously supported one mission, which was the Starlink L12 mission back in October of 2020. And the other half, which is the active half of the fairing, has flown many times, and this is the side we're looking at. This fairing has supported AMOS 17 in August of 2019, Starlink L6 in April of 2020, and the Starlink L15 mission in November of last year. So this is the second time that a payload fairing half is flying for the fourth time on this mission. Just look how sooty it is. I love it.
Yeah. You can see up at the very top looks like it's sort of clean, and then you can sort of see a darker area right there at the tip of the payload fairing, the white thing at the top of the rocket, right? And you can see how it's a little bit dirty, sooty, like you said, right, Chris?
Yeah.
All right. Grabbing a couple more super chats here, then I'll grab some non-super chat questions. Moldy Space Industries. Really a question, more of a comment. A fun name for the new ship would be Misnomer.
oh, please. Yes.
Hey,
No.
that brings us to sort of ties into another question here. Pro Diamond asked, why do they call the SpaceX drone ships, "Of Course I Still Love You"? So we have some sort of fun names with the SpaceX ships. Where did those come from? Who wants that, Julia or Chris?
Julia?
I don't have the author's name on the tip of my tongue. Chris Gebhardt. Come on, you've got to know this one. It's a sci-fi book.
Yeah, I'm also struggling from exactly which one they come from. Actually, because I know I think some of them are from Arthur C. Clarke stories.
So I think those come from Ian Banks in the Culture series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. You're right, Das.
Chat will correct me on that one if I'm wrong, but I think that comes from Ian Banks and the Culture series of sci-fi novels. Of Course I Still Love You and Just Read the Instructions. And then the other ones, Mystery and Mischief. Do we even know where those came from, or are they just wacky names?
Those are from
Julia?
a cult comic. Yeah.
Okay.
Like crime mysteries. So Mystery and Mischief, yeah.
Good
Those I did
deal.
know.
A good question there, Pro Diamond. Thank you for that. And let's see here. Tyler Seward, another super chat saying, "Huge thank you to everyone at NASA Spaceflight for providing the absolute best content day after day. I appreciate you guys very much. And congrats, Julia, on the article there. Thank you, Tyler, for the support."
Thank you, Tyler.
All right, a couple more really quick super chats. So we got a birthday, it looks like. Osprey GT saying, "Hello, NASA Spaceflight. It's my birthday, and I'm so excited to finally watch a Starlink launch attempt on your 16th birthday." All right. Thank you for the great coverage, Osprey. I would be remiss if I did not give you an obligatory "let's light this candle" for your birthday. Let's hope we get a good launch here, and happy birthday. just one or two more. Mike Smith with $20 saying, it took a 3.5-hour tour, coconut transmission failing, send Starlink. Marianne wants to Ginger, sign the professor.
I so appreciate that.
We make a Starlink terminal out of like palm fronds or something like
Right.
that, and then power it with a bike that's made out of bamboo lashed together. I don't know.
Right. And just a quick update on where we are in the countdown. So fueling is going well right now, and SpaceX has confirmed that the weather is looking good, because we're not just worried, of course, about what the weather's like on the ground, which is obviously very good. As you can see, there's literally not a cloud in the sky. But we're also worried about wind shear, upper level winds, things like that, and recovery weather. And wind shear was moderate going into today, but SpaceX confirming that the weather is currently looking good across the board for liftoff here.
Excellent. It does look like a nice day out there. Sometimes a little hard to tell with the clouds, but I don't even really see a bunch of shadows or anything like that because we're sort of zoomed
No,
in at night
it's
here.
yeah, no, it's a very, very clear day. It's wonderfully pleasant outside right now.
Excellent. Let's see here. Amtank, $2 saying my Dishy order was confirmed Monday. Must be a Starlink
Ooh.
Dishy order there. Let's see here. And Trevor popping through as well. It's Chris, see if you understand this one. It says active half faces away from the TE, not towards. Were we talking about something? Did I miss something there? Active half.
Oh, the active half of the payload fairing. I will take your word for it.
All
right. Trevor Sensic. Yes.
Yeah, Trevor,
Then there. Sorry, I just keyed into who the name was. Yes. Hi, Trevor. Yes. No. Then active half faces away. So what we're actually looking at is just the fairing half that has been reused once, and that's how sooty it is. So imagine what the other one looks like.
Excellent.
After 3. So there we go. No, thank you for the correction there, Trevor. Yes. So you are looking at the passive half of the fairing, the part that doesn't have any of the separation systems involved in the actual operation of the fairing during flight.
Gotcha. And look, I keep asking this, right? I mean, people always ask, oh, Starship, oh, et cetera, et cetera. So here, it's not a Starship launch today, folks. I know everybody's super excited about Starship, but I'll tie it in a little bit for you here. Leon was asking, will SpaceX still launch Starlink satellites with Falcon 9 rockets once Starship is fully operational? What do you think about that one, Chris?
It's a great question. I think the answer is going to be a mix of a mix, where Starlink is obviously a prime candidate for payloads in Starship, but I think the important thing to remember there too is like they're not indispensable, right? I mean, there is still a risk, right? I mean, that's a lot of money that you're entrusting in a Starship, right? To do this, and I'm not saying SpaceX doesn't trust their own vehicle,
Right.
but the risk of 60 versus the risk of, I think we've calculated it's around 350 to 400 that they could do from a mass perspective, because we're not sure about like how they stack within and what your available volume is, right? Inside of a Starship. So we know from a mass perspective, it's somewhere around 350 to 400. I mean, yes, you'll see them launch, but it's not like they're going to go, okay, Starship successfully went to orbit once, so Falcon 9, you're not doing any more of them.
Right.
Because the other thing too is you're also looking at the planes, right? Because you launch into a particular plane with 60 of them, but then all 60 don't stay in that plane. You drift some of them outward to the adjacent planes, right? So it's also about resource management, and as those planes get fuller and fuller and fuller, it might not make sense like how many we have to launch to use a Starship.
Right.
It might be overkill, so it's going to be a transition.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a hard like, nope, no more,
That was going to be my comment on it, Chris. There may be some orbits where you don't need as many Starlink satellites, so maybe use a Falcon 9 for, I don't know, like higher polar orbits or something like that, and you don't want to use all the Starlink's Delta V to get them to their other orbits. And there may be sort of like busier orbits where you can use a
Yes.
Starship to launch things sort of more equatorially, and then the Starlings can use a little bit of their own delta V to move into their final orbits. But I wonder if there won't be a mix for that reason, you know?
Well, and you brought up a point that had not actually crossed my mind, the polar consideration. You can't go
Right.
polar from Brownsville. So until you build the Starship
Ah.
pad at 39A, you're not launching Starlinks on a Starship into a polar orbit.
That's
You're
a good
gonna still
point.
have to use the Falcon 9. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So again, another
But
really good question there.
once that 39A pad is done, have at it because it can do
or
polar
Deimos and
corridors,
Phobos.
you know. Or
Or
Deimos
Deimos
and
or
Phobos
Phobos.
as well. Yeah.
Nice. By the way, that was a new voice in chat. How's it going there, Michael?
I'm doing okay. Hopefully, we'll see a Falcon 9 launch because the weather looks pretty optimal for flight right now. So fingers crossed you don't run into any technical issues. But it looks like a beautiful day in Florida today.
Excellent. Y'all, that's the voice. Now, see, here's the point where I don't know if I should put your name on the screen or
I
if you
got
should
it.
put your name on this. Okay, there you
Why
go.
is my photo? I guess
Oh,
you have
it's
a bug.
doing the picture
No,
thing again.
It'll update.
Yes.
I don't know what it's doing there. Maybe
It-
that's the...
It's the slow internet connection thing. It's showing the old cache. We've not had that problem before.
There you go. Maybe it just needs to
there we
load
go.
it the first time, and then it's fine if you have to go back to it.
Yeah, maybe.
But, anyways, good deal. That was another good question there. I know, folks, there's a ton of questions about Starship and SN15 and what's the schedule and what are the road closures and all that sort of stuff. We'll take a little bit of time after the Falcon 9 launch to talk about other streams that you can be expecting coming up this week, this weekend, and into next week out of Boca Chica. But for now, I do see your questions. Well, I guess I am intentionally skipping them. We'll save them till after the launch, and we'll stick to more mission-relevant questions here. I see your questions. I appreciate y'all. William Bellinger, thank you for the $9.99. Appreciate you.
There's our T-minus 20-minute Venom to right on schedule.
Excellent. So that is what we expect to see there. That is a completely nominal. Chris, what's that for again?
Yeah.
It always happens
Yeah.
at 2 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah. So as they're loading the first stage with propellant, and they are preparing to begin liquid oxygen loading into the second stage, they're inside that first stage. Liquid oxygen has been flowing into this for over 15 minutes now, and some of it's boiling off, right? And what you're seeing is them venting what has boiled off in the tanks to sort of get it out of those tanks to allow more room for more liquid oxygen to go in, right? While also doing final purges, getting ready to begin the liquid oxygen loading into stage 2 of the vehicle.
All right. So that's, something what I'm noticing for the first time? You can see that big plume going between the two lightning towers.
Yes, you can.
I never
Look at
noticed that before.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, I love our new camera.
Yeah. It is nice, and we were able to bring that, get that new camera going because of y'all's support from super chats and stuff. What made me
Also,
think
this
about
is
it?
this is the first day launch in a while
I know.
that we've had for 40. So I mean, it's entirely possible that's playing a role in this too.
Yeah, it's the first day launch on the new camera too, I think, right?
Yeah,
It is indeed. Yeah.
Alright. We may have some settings to dial in, but for right now, it's looking pretty nice. What made me think
Yeah.
about that was a super chat from JJ, who said, probably already asked, but what's the purpose of the 4 towers on the launch pad?
Ah, yes. So this is to prevent the big, scary bolts of electricity that snake down from the sky from time to time. So these are the lightning protection towers at Slick 40, and there are 4 of them in this particular design with the standard wiring, lacing them all together, and the Falcon 9 actually launches through a hole in the center of the wires that are strung across the pad from the tips of those towers. And this is just still to this is just to ensure that the rocket, and not just the rocket but also the hardware at the launch pad, including all of the fueling facilities and the gas facilities and everything, do not get struck by lightning. So basically, if a lightning strike were to be coming down in the pad's vicinity, those towers would attract the lightning bolts so that the lightning would hit one of those towers, and then all of the wires would channel the electrical energy harmlessly down into the ground to protect all of your pad infrastructure, whether or not there is a rocket, vertical or horizontal, on the launch pad. So that's why we have them here in Florida. All of the other launch pads have them too. There are varying designs for how you can do it. You don't always need 4. The pad immediately south of this one, where the Delta IV Heavy launches from, which is Slick 37B, only has 2 lightning protection towers. 39B over at the Kennedy Space Center side for the SLS rocket has 3, and 39A, of course, famously has 1, which sticks out from the top of the crew service tower. So it's really just there because of the environment that Florida isn't. We get severe storms here, primarily in the summertime and springtime, and we need that sort of protection system. You don't see those lightning towers at Vandenberg Air Force Base because the weather pattern and the climate is so different that thunderstorms are very, very rare. So you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't run into that particular situation out there with how that area is designed. And you also do not see lightning protection towers at Boca Chica because they are specifically designing the area and all of the equipment to not attract lightning strikes, just like aircraft are meant not, like commercial airliners and all aircraft are meant to not attract lightning strikes, but sometimes they can trigger it as they're flying through the air. It's also designed to absorb lightning strikes out there. So it's just a difference in how your system is and what range you're on. And of course, this range here in Florida is controlled by the Space Force. And lightning protection towers are mandated for the rockets that currently fly out of here.
Excellent. And I'm looking around here, getting a couple different cameras ready to go. But I've switched back over to Fleet Cam. You can see this from pad 40. This camera is about 10 miles away. We will switch back over to that closer in camera that Thomas has deployed in just a second here. But let's see. Grab a couple more super chats. Coops Z12 says, "Where can I watch on Twitch? Or where can I watch you on Twitch? I'd love to sub to you, Twitch." Or sorry, Coops, my Twitch username, where we sort of have like a little back channel. Hey, what's up, Twitch? Is Das Valdez, DASVALDEZ. One of the mods can maybe put that link into chat, and we have the stream in sort of both places. The Twitch thing is, I've got a lot of longtime viewers over there who've been watching my streams and virtual field trips and some of the original rocket launch coverage and stuff like that I started over there on Twitch, still sort of sneaking through. So thank you so much for asking, Coops. One of the mods can get that in. Yeah, there it is right there on Twitch. Martha.
And it is because of that, and it's because of your Twitch. It was just how, we first met and interacted.
Yeah.
But it is because of that I cannot for the life of me ever bring myself to call you by your actual name. Because to me you're always Das. So
it's so confusing. Then we get emails from NASA saying like, who's this John Galloway guy who applied under your name? Like, do we know that guy? And Chris is,
and I'm like sitting there on the internet going like, who is that? Oh!
All right. Oh, and some people saying hi over on the Twitch side now. Hello, Twitch friends. Let's see here. Max Klein, thanks for the reply to the t-shirt question. I don't remember which t-shirt question that was. Did we answer a t-shirt question or was that before?
I don't remember that, actually.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but speaking of t-shirts, the NASA Spaceflight shop.nasaspaceflight.com is another cool way to support the stream. I'll just toss that in real quick. So, all right. Are we good to go with Thomas's camera? I'm wondering that we are ready to go here or not. I think so. I'm gonna go ahead. Let's check Thomas's camera again. We were rebooting a setting there, and it looks like, is that a security person over there, Chris?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because there is a road closer, closer than the causeway, but it's not inside what's known as not inside the hazard zone, right? Like if something were to happen on the pad or in flight, right? Where would the debris footprint for the day be based on your weather conditions? It's that road is not within that sort of area, that big area of concern.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha. So also we've
and
got
we
some
do all the
telephoto
time with the
compression.
causeway. Yes, we do, which makes
Yeah.
that person look a lot closer to 40 than he is. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that
pad, not the age. I don't know how old they are. Like
how old that person is. Nice. The lens that we're using on this makes it seem like the security truck that's sort of crouching tiger in the bushes there. It makes it look closer to the rocket than it is, but that's sort of an artifact of the lens and that telephoto compression you get sometimes. But the truck, and if we see that person again in the foreground, they are also a safe distance away. They would not be there if they were not allowed to. And a lot of times we'll see them drive off right before the launch. I don't know if the truck has ever stayed there, but we'll see what they do today. What a place to watch the launch from.
I know, right?
Let's see here. Grabbing a couple more questions. Will Elon Musk go into space?
I think he said yes, but not now.
Yeah.
Like not the first missions.
Yeah. I know somebody was asking him about going to Mars, and there was like an old thing about, oh, my work here on Earth is important, and I'm not going to Mars yet. And then he had like a more recent comment where he said, yeah, I want to go into space, but I'm not going into space yet. And so I wonder if some point Elon Musk himself will not end up on a rocket that he built. Do you think he would ride on a Falcon or on a Starship?
I'd hope he ride on both, but
all right, okay.
I mean, both. But yeah, I think both. Why not?
All right, I'll buy it. Let's see here.
And we are just quickly, we've crossed the 11-minute mark into flight. So at the T-minus 7-minute mark is when we'll really hit the business end of the countdown, and we'll go over what to expect during the count and liftoff. Yeah.
Gotcha. Here was a really good one we can hit really quick, and then I'll grab some more super chats that are coming in hot. Jake31 was asking, why don't they launch Starlink on Falcon Heavy when they can launch more, I guess, mass on Falcon Heavy and complete the shell faster? Why are they not launching Starlinks on a Falcon Heavy?
Yes, that's a fantastic question, because this is where the mass doesn't actually matter. It's the payload fairing. If you were to do like a cutaway, like to see inside of the payload fairing here, the 60 Starlink satellites are literally packed to the walls and to the top. And the only reason there aren't more than 60 is because they've sort of reached the upper mass limit of the Falcon 9. They could squeeze a couple of more in there, but we're talking maybe 2 or 3. And that is not worth it to strap 3 Falcon 9 boosters together to create the Falcon Heavy. And then you'd be restricting yourself to only launching off of 39A, which completely eliminates the whole reason for having 2 launch pads at Florida, which is just bounce back and forth between the 2 of them until you get to a situation like April where 39A has to be configured for the Crew 2 launch coming up here in a couple of weeks. So 39A is no longer available. Now you have 40. Well, if you had restricted yourself to a Falcon 9 or a Falcon Heavy, now you can't do it. So it's literally that. There's nothing gained by going on a Falcon Heavy. Really.
Gotcha. And that takes us right into another question here from Joseph. Joseph asked, can you tell me about Crew 2 coming up in 2 weeks? You made my day answering 2 questions during the SN11 live stream. So always happy to give it a try.
Well, we'll make your
there,
day
Joseph.
now.
Yeah. So Crew 2 is a couple weeks.
Yeah, Crew 2 is a couple of weeks away. It is currently slated for no earlier than the 22nd of April at 6:10 a.m. Eastern, which is 10:10 UTC. It will launch 4 crew members up to the International Space Station, including Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur from NASA, Thomas Pesquet from the European Space Agency, and specifically from the nation of France, and then Aki Hoshide from the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency will be the 4th crew member on board. Of note, this is also going to represent only the 4th time that a woman has piloted a U.S. mission. Behind the 3 women who piloted space shuttle missions in the 1990s and 2000s. And it will also mark the first time a European astronaut flies on a commercial launch vehicle, and the second time a Japanese citizen flies on a commercial vehicle, as well as the second time that 2 Japanese citizens will be in space at the same time as one another when Aki joins Soichi Noguchi, who is currently on board the space station.
Excellent. So many good questions coming in here, folks. There's no way that we can get to every single one. There was a massive super chat that snuck through here. Robert Hobson with $99.99. $99.99. I know. Says, working and my brain is fried, so I have nothing cool to say. I is sad. Robert.
Well, don't be sad. There's a Starlink on the pad. Internet rocket, go. Come on.
And look at these people forming the peanut gallery here on the bottom of the camera. Like, I've never seen two cars over there before. Robert, thank you so much for the $100. You don't have to have something cool to say. I mean, we'll take the money anyways. It's fine. You could just toss it in. We're not high maintenance when it comes to accepting super chats. Thank you so much for joining us today. Folks, Robert Hobson is a name we see all the time in support of the channel. Robert, we cannot thank you enough for the $100 there. That's why we can keep doing this. How are we looking on the countdown, Chris?
Yeah, so the countdown is looking good. We are at T-minus 6 minutes and 20 seconds and counting engine chill down on the 9 Merlin 1D engines on the base of the Falcon 9 booster. Is in work, and engine gimbal slew tests have just been completed, as they have said over the ComNet. So they have completed checkouts of the engines, making sure they can gimbal and move everything. And we have prop load is also closing out on the stream, on the vehicle as well into some of the stages. Fueling actually continues until the T-minus 2.5 minute mark overall before final closeouts of those kinds begin. But we are definitely in the business end of the countdown, and everything does appear to be going well. And I will endeavor to stop talking over those net callouts, but sometimes they are so quick that by the time I realize they're saying something, it's done. So
yeah.
I will endeavor to stop talking, but apologies for talking over them. It's not my intent.
Hey, Chris, as long as you explain what they said, if you talk over them, like, you just
okay, yes,
on the back end, because I know they're sort of unexpected. But the good news is, piping those into the comms net here that we're using is working correctly. It sounds like. So
it is. It does sound like it. Yes. At least for me, I hear them, unless I've gone.
I heard them too.
Okay, good.
Y'all heard the call out there as well. Folks, we're coming up on 5 minutes. Actually, we just crossed over T-minus 5 minutes. If you're just joining us wondering what's going on, over 16,000 of you joining us for this launch. That is a Falcon 9 rocket. You can see it in two views here. One of these views is from Port Canaveral, where anyone can launch overouts from. This is actually our fleet cam over at Rusty Seafood and Oyster Bar on the left-hand side. In the right-hand side, that is Thomas Burghardt. He has rolled out one of our mobile remote camera broadcast units, and he is just a couple miles away there on the right-hand side of your screen. And you can also tell the difference between a nice actual broadcast camera and a PTZ security camera, because on one the sky is blue, and on the other one it's not really blue. So thank you so much for joining us here. Yeah, it's also 10 miles away. Yeah, that's true. 4 minutes now. We'll be watching the launch here. This is from Cape Canaveral, carrying those Starlink satellites once again. But thank you so much. Almost 17,000 people now joining us here for the live stream. We are going to put a little bit of a... Oh, I got to read that one. Bob, I can't stop that one. My birthday is Friday and begins your last year being 50-something. Still a kid at heart. Thanks for the great video coverage. Bob S., thank you so much for the support. Glad you're able to share these sorts of things with us. We really appreciate you being here, and appreciate the fact that you're able to see these rocket launches and joining these spaceflight experiences with the NASA Spaceflight team. Chris, I know I'm talking an awful lot. Am I missing anything here?
No, not at all. I mean, propellant closeouts on the various elements are continuing at this point. You can see the puffing of the Falcon 9. The next major thing to look for is about 2.5 minutes prior to... Okay, I said pogo bleed verification. Another indication, proceeding. And stage 1 liquid oxygen load is complete.
That was louder than we normally get from them.
That was, yes.
Interesting. All right. I'll speed run a couple here. You're gonna have to skip some questions. Sam Halter says, "Have a great time. Thanks for the interesting commentary." Sam, thank you for the support. Guidus, I don't actually know how to say this, says, "Stop wrinkling my lattice." I don't understand it, but I appreciate the support. Hagen says, "Congrats, Julia, on your first article." Really quickly, Martin Marciniak, can you see the launch from Orlando? Are we too far away? Chris, today, you think they'll see this from Orlando?
You should be able to see it from Orlando. There's mild cloud cover over the central part of the Florida Peninsula right now, but you should be able to see it, yes.
If not,
and if you are in central Florida or on the Florida Peninsula, this one is going northeast from the Cape.
Northeast from the Cape. If not the vehicle itself, you should see the plume. Like,
exactly.
If you can't see the rocket, hopefully you can see that plume from Orlando over there. Thanks for tuning in, Martin. And there was the stage 2 LOX load complete.
Yep. So there is it. The fueling of the vehicle is complete, and final closeouts are underway. A minute and a half from liftoff now. Coming up on final go confirmations for launch, Das.
All right. Well, I am
Of
going to
note.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Of note, this is booster 1058, making its 7th flight, and it misses the turnaround record, the worldwide turnaround record, by just 4 hours from its counterpart, booster 1060. Booster 1058's last launch was 27 days and 8 hours ago, but B1060 beats it at 27 days and 4 hours. So close but no cigar, as we're under 1 minute to go.
And there was Falcon 9 in startup. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and pull that live audio for Mission Control because it's not going to exactly match our audio, but we'll pull that down. And we're going to bring up our own camera audio out there from the Cape. So stand by for that. Let's bring that up so we get some sweet rocket noises here today. We should be able to hear that.
That was them saying they were go for launch.
Excellent.
And don't panic, the timer in our upper corner might be slightly off, but it will be close. So don't panic if our timer gets to 0 and nothing happens.
Yep.
Oh, or it's early. There we go. We have ignition and we have a liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket on the L-23 Starlink mission. Go, Internet Rocket, go.
Excellent. Look
There's
at that.
the side-by-side, and let's hear the sound.
You gotta love the sound.
Oh, you absolutely do. You absolutely do. Falcon 9. Yeah, go ahead, Des.
Oh no, I just say it literally sounds like the rocket is ripping the atmosphere apart. It's got like this tearing noise to it. So it's such a sound to hear.
It really is, and there's that condensation trail they have just gone through. Max Q on the, and the vehicle is supersonic at this point, climbing out, heading northeast. Right now, all indications of a good flight. You can see the wind shear.
Look at that! That plume in the foreground with the rocket continuing on in the background. What a shot!
Yeah, you can see how it buffets those winds sometimes as it goes up there in that wind shear, but all within limits. And the Falcon 9 continuing to push upward into its initial orbit, well offshore now, having pitched over, gaining a lot more. And the Merlin vacuum engine now chilling down in preparation for its ignition. But that Falcon 9 gaining a lot more horizontal than vertical acceleration now, which is what we need to manage velocity and altitude so we get to the intended orbit at engine cutoff here. And Thomas with an absolutely epic shot as it heads downrange, but we are standing by now for that first stage shutdown. separation and ignition of the second stage Merlin vacuum engine. And there was cutoff of the first stage. Thomas has a great shot, and there is ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine. You can see the exhaust trail. My gosh, I love this camera, Thomas. Amazing tracking. And SpaceX is confirming all of those staging events now. Alrighty, and confirmation from SpaceX of a good throttle on the Merlin vacuum engine. There, Thomas losing it there in the sky.
Head back over to the launch pad view there. That's what we like to see.
Yes. And payload fairing jettison has just been confirmed. That is
Yeah.
excellent. The first stage has reoriented itself as well to begin its trek toward the drone ship. Of course, I still love you. This is the official feed from SpaceX showing both of the stages. Both of the stages there.
Are those
stage
the fairings or are those the stages?
I think
I
those
can't
are.
tell.
Those are the fairings.
They're fairings. They're flipping. They're fairings. Yeah.
Are they flipping? Yeah, this is why I didn't
look-
switch to this feed, because Thomas actually had a stable trek.
It looks like they're flipping. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but this is one of SpaceX's long-range feeds. All right, an acquisition of signal at the Bermuda tracking station. But here you can see the trajectory, the telemetry of both of the stages. So the stage 1 booster B1058, which did its job through first stage flight. You can see it's currently at apogee right now at 124 kilometers, 125. So it will begin. It'll begin falling back down toward the drone ship as the second stage is velocity and altitude are continuing to increase as they take the Starlink stack to orbit here.
Yeah. And not getting any views from the rocket there, it looks like. We didn't have a fairing camera. We didn't have a first stage camera, a booster camera. Not getting that video from SpaceX there. Of course, then Thomas can only track it for so long. He's sort of static on the ground there and not getting that video from SpaceX. We're just going to have a look at the empty launch pad here, and I'm continuing to watch what SpaceX is giving us. Also, if there was some sort of issue with the rocket audio sound there.
So it might just be a hiccup on the video equipment from the rocket, and this has happened before, where they knew they weren't going to have second stage cameras on a previous mission this year, but they are very crucially saying stage 2 is following a nominal trajectory, so everything is fine with the flight.
Smoke normal? There's some brown.
Oh
smoke
yeah,
coming from the pad. Is that normal?
Oh yeah, every once in a while, rockets will set the surrounding terrain on fire when they lift off. It's expected and prepared for. Shuttle and Delta IV Heavy are the prime examples, and if an Atlas has solid rockets and it's summer and a little dry, yeah, maybe. Yeah, happens all the time, yeah.
Gotcha.
Not to say it's not potentially serious, just that, yes, it does happen. I wouldn't panic right this moment, no.
Yeah, we'll certainly keep an eye on it, but that happens. There's brush, there's dry grass and stuff like that around the pad. A lot of energy coming out of the back of the rocket there as well, and that happens on occasion. KSC, of course, and the military base have a fire department to deal with things like that. Don't expect that to be a massive issue, right, Chris?
Yeah, so a lot of people are thinking that because my uncle just texted me saying, "What happened? It looked like," and he's watching it because we're showing something that appears to be on fire. Yeah, no, the rocket's doing fine. The rocket's in flight on the second stage. The first stage is headed for the drone ship. We should actually be approaching first stage entry burn. There we go. Entry burn startup was just called out over the net. So stage 1 is doing its entry burn, heading for the drone ship. Of course, I still love you.
And got the trajectory there from the SpaceX stream, yeah.
Indeed. There we go, entry burn. And there we go, and there's the video. Okay, so there we go. I love the glow. I love the stripes.
I know.
The MVAC is so beautiful. Like,
Oh gosh, the dark side there, because there's two cameras that switch back and forth on the
Yes.
right-hand side, and the dark side with that red glow looks really cool.
So look
it
at
does,
this.
and there's
I think
Oh.
this is new, Chris. They attempted this on the last stream. It kind of cut out, but normally they would have lost stage 1 video at this point. So I'm guessing this video is being downlinked through the drone ship or recovery ships out there. This is something they have not normally done. They attempted it, I believe, for the first time on the previous live stream.
Gotcha. And
But
I
we-
believe I just heard that stage 1 is subsonic now.
Yeah, so we may see if this works. We may see the video live from the booster all the way.
This
from
would
the
be
drone ship.
so. All right. So stage 2 is enter terminal guidance.
There's the drone ship below the grid
Yep.
fin on the left.
Oh yeah.
All right, the landing burn has started. Let's see if we get this live.
That is cool right there.
Oh, look at this!
Look at the drone ship down there.
Look at that!
God, it looks like it's coming up fast.
Oh, look at that! A successful landing, and they lost the signal from the drone ship, but
But
they
not
kept
the
it on
rocket.
the booster. That was incredible.
Very well done there, SpaceX
That-
video team.
Yes. Bravo. That
So-
was beautiful.
We have seen that once or twice before, but those were on drone ship landings just off the coast. They were able to get the video from a ground station. But this is in the middle of the ocean, so that must have come off of the drone ship or the recovery vessels one way or another.
And very quickly here, just to confirm, stage 2 is in its nominal orbit. The Merlin vac shut down on schedule, and they have confirmed nominal orbit. So we are in our coast phase until about 45 minutes into the flight, when we'll have that 1 second reignition of the Merlin vac engine to finalize the orbit at 260 by 280 kilometers. And that last call out is that they have acquisition of signal from the second stage at the tracking station in Newfoundland, Canada. But that was cool, Michael. That
was definitely
really
cool.
That was
cool.
impressive.
Like,
Yeah. And y'all, Thomas out there at the Cape has had to pack up his camera, so we do not have that live feed. We did, of course, see the empty pad there, which is what we like to see on launch day, a launch pad with no rocket on it. There, I've said it. It's out of the way. Still have fleet cam over here showing some that one puffy cloud, maybe two puffy clouds. But looks like the contrail, the vapor trail behind the rocket has already cleared out as well. And it is all the way downrange, just looking at telemetry here from SpaceX now, it looks like.
We were having some connectivity issues on fleet cam, so I wasn't able to track it as well as I would have liked, but that's just the way the internet situation is. Maybe one day we'll upgrade it, but right now we're obviously focusing on the robots in Boca Chica, where Starship is.
We did. We looked at getting, right now that fleet cam is on like a fixed wireless connection, and I don't like wireless connections like that if there's any other option, but having to get like a custom line installed there is super expensive. Not quite something that we can do for fleet cam yet. But Michael, I saw that. I switched back and forth a couple times, and we were sort of overtaxing the fleet cam resources there, I know. But thanks for giving that track a try. And y'all, we're going to investigate if there was a loss of audio. I mean, I believe you, because everybody in chat said there was a loss of audio. We weren't getting that audio from the camera at launch. Not sure exactly what was going on there. I was hearing the audio in my headset, and I was seeing the audio supposedly going out, but y'all say you did not hear it, which I do believe. And so we will work on that. Thomas will get back up, and we'll run that camera through some diagnostics to see why y'all did not hear that launch audio. Because that is, I mean, honestly, like 50% of the launch experience is hearing the audio. So I see what y'all were saying about missing that audio. No rocket sounds only comments, and we'll run some diagnostics on that workflow and figure out why that was not there today. I do believe y'all when you say you didn't hear it. So Thomas is going. We're watching the telemetry here. Chris, we usually hang out for a little while and answer some more questions. Is that what we want to be doing here?
That is perfectly fine. Yes, I am just tense editing the article on site, but I can still answer questions. Yes.
All right. Well, I'll grab some super chats really quickly, and then we'll get some regular questions as well. Uh, this one here, I'm not look. It just says speed run. Thank you. I got nothing on that name. I can't even. Yeah, I don't know. But 500. I'm pretty sure those are yen. So it says, is it still? Not anymore. The rocket is launching, and the second stage is continuing onto orbit. It's going 7,000 towards actually 27,165 kilometers per hour. There, you can see on the screen. So it is not still right now. Appreciate the support. I'll never stop loving you. Thank you, Gaitus. I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce that name, but thank you. It sounds like the name of a plant or something. We've also got a oscillation. All right, thank you, glistening oscillation. Appreciate you. And then here's a good one. And Chris, and I don't know if we still have Julia on the line as well. I know she was going to have to take off. What's the best place to physically, like IRL, in real life, down there at the Cape, view the rocket launch from Cape Canaveral? Y'all want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, Julia?
Well, I'm still here, and it depends on which pad they're launching from, really. If you're talking 39A, you're actually better off kind of going up to Titusville, and if Playa Linda Beach is open, that is the ideal spot to watch from. If we're talking 40, there's some places on Highway 528 that are great, and watching from Jetty Park is always a great option as well.
Excellent. So a couple different options from around there. Of course, the Fleet Cam spot where we have Fleet Cam, that rusty seafood and oyster bar over there, you can get lunch and a launch. I mean, as long as it's launching around lunchtime. I'm not going to serve you lunch at like 3 a.m. or anything like that, like all the other Starlink launches we've had to watch. But that's definitely a cool place to watch from. Playa Linda, the state, is this a state park, isn't it, Julia?
That is a national.
National, okay. From Playa Linda is another place, an entrance fee.
National Wildlife Refuge.
Yeah, National Wildlife Refuge at Playa Linda. There may be an entrance fee to drive your vehicle onto the park there to help support the national park operations. And then Jetty Park over there as well. I think if you go to Jetty Park, there's an entrance fee, but that's really close to Port Canaveral, isn't it, Julia?
Yeah, very close to Port Canaveral. Actually, that is where we usually watch the ships come in from. There's a like boat ramp right now, but that has some pretty limited viewing.
Just like limited
down the beach line though, and Poke Beach and yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that boat ramp, that's like limited space for viewing.
Gotcha. All right. So a good question there, Michael. Of course, it's hard for them to launch a rocket and hide it out there at the Cape, especially on a day where there's nice weather. You can see the launch just about from anywhere. And like Julia was saying, it really depends on what pad they're going from. The 39 pads, you can get a little bit closer if you're over at Playa Linda. A 40, you can see really well from the port. You can see everything from Titusville, which would be a little bit further away there. So anything to add, Chris?
Yeah, just when because, vaccines are rolling out, we're hoping we're going to be able to get back to normal here. What we were just mentioning were a lot of the free sites in and around Titusville that are anywhere from 10 to 13 miles away from the launch pad, depending on what pad and where you are. But it's worth noting, too, that when tours begin at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center again, they offer launch viewing at the Saturn V Center, which is only 3 miles or 5 kilometers from 39A and 39B. And they also offer other viewing locations, like some of the pads on the Cape side, you're allowed to be at the 39A gantry for some missions. So, bear that in mind too, that the visitor center offers some options for you as well, but you do have to pay for them,
right,
to get that close. Yeah. If you want to be close, you got to pay. It's basically the answer. Yeah.
I think they actually call one of them the Feel the Heat package or whatever, where you go over to the Saturn V Center and you're so close you can, I don't know if you can actually feel the heat. But it's the closest.
If it had a solid rocket on it, you could.
Is that for real? Like you actually could?
You can sometimes feel heat from the solid rocket boosters. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. I mean, not like intense, but like you could feel like there was a difference for a couple of seconds before it started the climb. Yeah.
Cool. But that the friends over at Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex, those are paid options to watch there, but you can get, like, as a member of the public, it's the closest you can get if you go over to the Saturn V Center, and if they ever start doing the 39 gantries again, when they got 40, 41 launches, they had an even closer spot that you could watch from for those other pads. But definitely something to check out. It is paid options, and there are an awful lot of free options if you go down there to watch a launch. Let's see here. Grab a couple more Starlink questions here, Chris. Can I toss some to you?
Yes, a couple more. Yes.
All right. How much does one of these launches cost?
Oh, well, okay. So there are a couple of different ways to look at it, right? So basically, the first stage for this particular one, right, is free, quote
Right.
unquote, to SpaceX because they built it, they sold it to someone for the price to recoup all of that, and now they're using it for internal missions. So the cost for the stage, you could say, would be whatever it costs to refurbish it from its last mission, and that includes like all the personnel and every, all of that goes into it. The cost of the propellant, the cost to refurbish both of the payload fairing halves that were reused on this flight, how much each of the Starlink satellites cost times 60, the insurance that you have on this particular mission, the tension rods, all of the equipment. The second stage is brand new, so that's a cost that SpaceX has to eat, right. For the internal mission. And all of that is to say it's really, really, really difficult to put a dollar figure on it, and I wouldn't even try because I don't know how to answer some of those questions. Like, I don't know what everyone gets paid, right? I don't know what SpaceX's trade-offs are between stages and different things and how it works internally, because they're internal missions like that. I mean, it's definitely not full price, brand new Falcon 9. It's definitely double-digit millions. I just would not want to hazard a guess as to what it actually is.
The
It's a
closest
SpaceX
thing,
secret.
the closest thing I've seen though is that conference. I forget which one it was, but at a conference, a SpaceX employee did say it cost them $28 million per Starlink. But I'm not sure exactly what that entailed. If that included refurbishment cost and recovery cost, because the recovery fleet is actually quite expensive. So each drone ship landing is expensive. I'm not sure if that was included in that cost.
Yeah.
Right. Let me grab a couple more. So it's one of those things. It's like we can talk about the cost, but we can't tell you oh yes, for this exact launch, here's exactly how much SpaceX pays for it, because that is something that they hold internally, right? They don't publish that price. Let's see here. So I'm just trying to grab one or two more questions out of chat. Here's a good one about Starlink. I don't know if we know the answer to this one, but if there's 60 satellites, how many internet connections total do they support? Have we heard anything like that, Chris? Like one satellite can handle this many ground stations at once?
Honestly, off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I really don't know the answer to that.
Just one of those things there. We don't. I don't think SpaceX has published that number. Like each Starlink satellite can handle this many ground stations at once. So you could maybe try to work backwards. Like they plan to sell this many ground stations. They plan to have this many satellites in orbit, and then the coverage area of a single. Like you might be able to work backwards towards it, but that's not an answer that SpaceX has published or publicized in any way, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Here's a good one. I mean, some more technical. We haven't done as many technical Starlink questions like this, but this one's from Session asking, does a Starlink satellite have to be visible in the sky for the client Starlink dish to establish a connection? Is weather a factor? So is it visible in the sky, and does weather matter? I guess those are the two sort of questions, Chris.
No, weather does not matter. But yes, it has to be within, as far as I understand it, they have to be within visual range right now of ground tracking stations, although I am not sure how the planned interconnectivity between
Right.
them would alter that. But I do believe right now, since the vast majority of them up there don't have the interconnected capability, that they would have to be within view of the ground station to work. But again, I don't know how the interconnected nature of them would change that.
Gotcha. And I mean, all right. Look, like DirecTV is like, oh yeah, weather doesn't matter, and then a thunderstorm comes through, and sure,
Yes,
you
okay.
still have internet,
Yes.
but it's
So
not
let's talk
good.
about what we mean by that, right, Doss?
Yeah. I mean, if the
So
Starlink
there,
dish is actively getting struck by lightning, I'm sure that might be an issue. But
well, okay, well
normal
that
weather.
would be an issue. No, but that's an excellent point, because I think that's a great point to clarify. Starlink is not just for consumer public use. There are military applications for this, and military uses for this constellation. It is one of the reasons it was granted permission to keep launching at the beginning of this pandemic, when everything else came to a grinding halt.
Right.
At first. So this isn't like DirecTV, which only has to support your personal television. In that regard, this is like military element things where it can't be affected by weather. And a big part of Starlink, right, is serving remote locations reliably, and that includes places where the weather gets really, really bad for prolonged periods of time.
Right.
And you need to be able to take this thing into places that are experiencing forest fires and floods and everything, and it's gotta work, right? So in that regard, weather is not a factor. So like you shouldn't be sitting there and then boop, a thunderstorm, once the constellation is built.
Gotcha. Yeah, that is, I mean, it's a great question about does it have to be visible in the sky. I know your question was about weather and clouds and stuff like that specifically, but remember, that's how the Starlink network works. So at any given time, there's going to be multiple Starlink satellites above you, and your dish is going to talk to, I don't know, one or many of those satellites, but it's not just like there's one Starlink satellite passing over so you have internet. At any given time, your
Expected
dish
loss
will
of
see
signal, Goonhilly, England.
Goonhilly, all right. At any given time, your Starlink dish will see lots of satellites. And so just because, one off in one direction it can't get to, whatever reason, there's a lot of Starlinks up there, and it's constantly handing off. So one goes over the horizon and another one comes up over the horizon, and your dish is constantly figuring out which Starlink sats it needs to talk to based on what it can see in the sky right now. So,
and ideally, right, that you have lines of sight to multiple ones of them,
exactly,
right, at the same time as they're all going overhead. But I think another way to answer the does it have to be visible in the sky question is, like, your dish has to have a visible line of sight to
right,
the
you
sky,
can't put it in your
right?
living
So
room.
like you can't put it in your living room. If your house is completely surrounded by trees, you can't stick it on your roof, right? It's not gonna see through solid objects like that, but it's gonna be able to see through clouds, and
Right.
thunderstorms and things like that.
Gotcha. I mean, Chris, we're just hanging out. Let us know how we are on time here. But I'm just,
I kind of have a cutoff for some things I need to go do.
okay.
Doggo wise. So yeah.
Gotcha. All right, good deal. Let me grab maybe one more quick question here. Here's an easy one, then I'll grab a couple if you need to hop off there, Chris.
Yeah.
Mop Bop was asking, are they at the limit of how many Starlinks they can put in the fairing? Or in other words, how
Yes.
full is the fairing?
Basically, the fairing is as full as it can be for the mass limit of the Falcon 9. You could maybe put 2 or 3 more in there, but we were answering this question earlier just in a slightly different way. You could maybe put a couple more in there, but then you can't get the booster back, so you don't want to do that. But the fairing itself is nearly at max, but not quite. But nearly. Yeah.
You've got sort of two capacities, right? You have the volume,
Yes.
the amount of space your satellite takes up, and then you have the mass. Like when you're on the ground, how much your satellite
Yes.
weighs, but when you're in orbit, how much mass does the satellite have? And so not only does the Falcon 9 have a mass limit, I mean, all rockets have a payload mass
Right.
limit. They also have a payload volume limit, right?
Yes, indeed. And
Yeah.
Das, I am going to throw up a link here. Because it has a picture of stacked Starlinks.
Uh-huh. Excellent.
inside the payload fairing, or inside half of the payload fairing, so you can see how much room there really isn't in
much
terms
room
of what is.
And
In
I
terms
thought I
of
had a
what is left.
picture already, but I apparently need to refresh it.
I thought I did too, and I'm having a real hard time finding the original tweet. So, man, hang on. I'm gonna get it for you, Doss. I promise.
Okay, all right. And Chris, I know you have to run as well. I think what our plan will be, Michael and I can handle the sort of end of the stream and the Starship updates, what to expect from Starship stream.
Gotcha.
So when you need to take off, you don't even have to find the tweet. Like I know you had to take off here, but Michael and I will end the stream with Starship updates. Sound good?
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right.
Yes. However, I think I found it.
Oh,
yes!
okay.
Haha! I found it. I found it, and it's from our site too. Hooray! On brand. All right, I'm putting it in Control Center for you.
I can handle it, DOS, if you don't have the...
Yeah, I don't
you
have
go.
that.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, heck. Yeah, if you can, that'll be faster. And again,
Alrighty,
folks,
but yes, actually, with that, that's just going to show you like how almost fully packed the fairing is. They basically have them packed to the point where the fairing begins to taper upward to its nose.
Right.
So yeah, you're reaching mass limitations on the Falcon 9 and just literally what you can fit in the fairing, and you'll see from the photo.
Yeah, we'll get
But,
the photo in
I
just
think-
a second there.
Yeah, but I think that's going to do it. That's going to do it for me. But stick around with Doss and Michael for some more questions. It's about 15 minutes till that engine reignite, give or take. So and there you go.
There we go.
There is the photograph.
All right. So that's
So,
what the
yes.
60 satellites look stuffed into that fairing. Not a lot of room left.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yes,
Chris,
indeed.
I know you had to take off.
Yes.
Y'all, this is the voice of Chris Gebhardt. He is going to be hopping off comms here. We'll give you a Starship update in just a second. But Chris, thank you so much for joining us for the Falcon 9 launch today.
My pleasure. Glad it's been successful so far.
Alrighty. Well, folks, that's again Chris Gebhardt. He's the assistant managing editor for NASA Spaceflight. Follow him over there on Twitter at ChrisG_NSF. If one of the mods could put that link into chat so people can click it and toss a follow to Chris. Chris, have a good rest of the day. Hope you are well, and we will see you next time. All right. And let's see here. Yes. I have two names. You're right. It's funny, folks. I know we had a lot of questions coming through over the course of the stream. Again, Starlink's just coasting here. It's just doing its thing. I don't know that we'll stay all the way on to deploy here. We'll see what we're going to do with that, Michael. But I know we had tons of questions about Starship. SN11 did its thing in the fog. It doesn't exist anymore. Kind of exists in a bunch of little pieces spread all over Boca Chica. We know that SN15's in the high bay as well. And what do we think is going on out there at Boca Chica? Michael, can you give us an update on road closures that we see, all the little things we look at, FAA notices, et cetera, et cetera? What do we think is happening out at Boca Chica the rest of this week and on into next week?
Do we have the road closure scene available?
It can be available. Yeah, sure.
There are road closures currently scheduled for Thursday and Friday of this week. Most likely, well, we know for a fact that Thursday's closure is for a rollout of some sort. It does not say on the road closure what they're going to be rolling out on Thursday, but it does say it's an intermittent road closure. So that means when I say it's an intermittent road closure, it means there's not going to be like testing or something that requires the road to be closed the entire time. It will just be closed on and off as they move whatever object they're going to move down Highway 4 in Boca Chica. Of course, by far the most likely object being moved, with road closures scheduled on Friday and Monday and Tuesday of next week as well, is the next Starship in the pipeline, Starship SN15. So we expect SN15 to be the object rolling out tomorrow. We won't know for sure until we see it happen. It could potentially be another ground support equipment tank or perhaps the orbital launch mount, but most likely I think SN15 is going to be the object being moved tomorrow based on those future road closures. So if SN15 rolls out tomorrow, Friday is probably when they're going to begin the proof testing. They should do an ambient proof test followed by a cryogenic proof test, and the thrust simulator has been installed. So they will test that new thrust puck with some hydraulic rams to simulate the forces of the Raptor engine and make sure that the new and improved design for SN15 is capable of withstanding the thrust of at least 3 Raptor engines. And then into Monday and Tuesday of next week, if all goes well, they should get into static fire testing. So the best case scenario would be a test flight in the second half of next week. I think that's what SpaceX is currently targeting, but basically those schedules never end up holding. So we're probably still a couple weeks away from a test flight, just given the natural delays, but should get into testing perhaps by Friday, if not next week.
Yeah, and I brought up just a quick, this is actually a lower quality feed off one of the robot cameras out there, but you can see SN15 there in the high bay right now. It's got the flaps and it's stacked. So that is what Michael's talking about, potentially rolling out there in one of those road closures coming up. I just had to see if I could pull up this feed in the emergency backup mode right quick. And it worked, so whew, thank goodness. But that is a live shot from Boca Chica, Texas, of Starship SN15 over there in the high bay. I'm sitting here second guessing myself. It is SN15, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is. I have already called it SN11 once today, so.
Too many SNs. Like, why didn't they just go to 12? What paperwork was involved where they couldn't have just named this one 12? Anyways.
Well, the next live stream from us will be that rollout, assuming it happens tomorrow. Again, the road closure is scheduled from 11 to 1:30, so probably sometime between 11 or, maybe noon is when we would go live. I think Mary will probably try to be down at the launch site, so I'm not sure if we're going to go live exactly when it starts rolling. We might wait until it is in a place where we will have a view of it the entire time, because the robots will lose it behind some trees early on. But expect soon after the rollout starts, we will go live.
Gotcha. All right. Let me just grab, like I said, there were a ton of Starship-related questions. We're just going to speed run some of those real quick. How's the robot army in Boca Chica? Alex Plant. That's sort of timely there. The robot army is doing well. They're all reporting into me right now. We have not lost anything. The danger cam, or enhanced cam, Michael, since you're on, I'll call it enhanced cam. That did take a hit. One of the solar panels actually got destroyed by a piece of debris, but luckily there's 8 solar panels on that thing, 25 watts apiece, 200 watts total, and we only lost one of the solar panels. So it is still kicking just fine. The power budget is still good to go, and that was the only real damage that we had for the robotic cameras out there at Boca Chica. Thank you for caring, Alex Plant. Let's see here. This was a super chat from a while ago. Good morning, all. Not related to this launch, and I don't know if there's been been off Twitter for a while. Any update on the equipment at Boca Chica? Was there any damage with SN11? Michael, did we hear anything out of SpaceX or out of people observing from the roadside? Mary, our daily videos, have we seen anything damage-wise out there?
Minor damage, like an ATV or a similar vehicle got hit, but nothing of value to SpaceX. Nothing in the millions of dollars that SpaceX would flinch at, basically. And I think replacing an ATV or something from their perspective is not a lot of money. So
yeah,
no significant damage to infrastructure.
Exactly. Here, since that other one was an emergency, here's a higher quality feed off that same robot. That other one was low res, stretched to fit, and then this is actually the primary broadcast feed off that robot. Sorry, since we're talking about Starship. Starlink, of course, has been successfully launched. It's on its coast phase right now, coming up to deployment in a while, but Starlink mission, the reason we were here today, is still going along. Let's see here. Seeing if there was anything else. There was a question earlier about after the whole SN11, I'm not going to say fiasco, but the way SN11 went down where you couldn't see anything. Even SpaceX didn't have visuals on SN11 from ground cameras of any sort. Do you think that the FAA will require SpaceX to have visuals on Starship going forward? Like, is there anything that might say during this test campaign, if you do not have visual on the rocket, you're not allowed to launch? From a safety perspective, any rumblings about some sort of requirement like that after SN11, Michael?
I don't see why SN11 would change the FAA's opinion. I think if there was a requirement like that, it would have been in place before SN11, in which case SpaceX would not have flown during SN11. There wasn't a safety issue that I could see during SN11, like, a person being in the range that was not spotted because of the fog. There wasn't something like that happened during SN11. So I don't think the FAA would change their mind. They can always reevaluate something. That's always a possibility, but I'm not aware of any safety incident during SN11 that would change the FAA's mind in that regard. I think if they were worried about the ability to clear the range or whatever it may be during fog, that would have been a restriction in place before SN11. So
Right. Gotcha. I wonder, in terms of will SN11, the incident of SN11 have any impact going forward? I think one of the, I don't know, from our perspective, I feel like this was sort of unexpected, but that debris that actually either washed up at South Padre or was coming down around South Padre, maybe some lighter weight materials that travel a little bit further than expected. I wonder if that's going to have any impact. It wasn't big pieces of stainless steel falling down. That was constrained to about a kilometer radius around the impact point. But anything on that, Michael? There were some pieces of like lightweight insulation or something. Do you think that's
yeah.
something FAA had thought about, SpaceX had thought about, upper level winds carrying those further than expected, or?
So a couple people, including Jack, found what appeared to be some sort of thermal insulation blankets from Starship on South Padre Island, where the crowd was watching the launch from, that apparently came down during the launch. South Padre Island is about 5 or 6 miles north of the launch site, so it is
Right.
absolutely impossible that debris from the explosion could have traveled that far. But did not explode anywhere near high enough for that to be a possibility.
Right.
Just by simple physics, that would not work out. So the leading theory is that some thermal insulation blankets might have fallen off near apogee up in those high-level winds, and because blankets are super light, they could have been carried a long distance in the wind, especially if it was, wind in excess of 100 miles per hour. It could
Right.
have been carried kind of quickly, but I don't think there's any. I mean, they are just soft blankets, so I'm not sure there's any significant safety impact of that, but the FAA is going to be taking interest in any debris that came down where spectators are, obviously. So I assume there will be an investigation. I'm not sure if it's going to cause any problems or how the FAA feels about it, but I'm sure they're going to be looking into that.
Yeah, good deal. Hey, again, no official word on that or anything like that, but that's sort of, it's a really good question about how SN11 might affect things going forward. But certainly they do think about a lot of this stuff in advance. Here's a good one. Michael, are you good to go for a few more minutes or just sort of hanging out?
Yes.
Okay. Vil Junlin asks, which Starship will be using the lunar nose cone? Since we've got that on the screen right now, you can see the white painted NASA, on the other side it's got a NASA logo nose cone. Is that just a mock-up? Do we think they're going to use that for anything? Are they just sort of working around inside? Are they ever going to put that on a Starship, or?
I don't think so. I'm pretty positive that is a mock-up, but the only question I have is if they would ever put that on a, not a flight Starship, but a test article or a mock-up Starship to assemble a full-scale mock-up of the Starship, the lunar Starship version for NASA. I was expecting that to happen, and I think that might have actually been the original plan with that nose cone.
Right.
But the fact that the first round of HLS, the Human Landing Systems program for NASA, is completing, and they're going to be, moving on towards the phase where they actually build the thing, I'm not sure there's ever going to be a day when that gets built, but we'll wait and see what happens. But if I had to guess, we're not going to see that specific nose cone ever put on any Starship.
Gotcha. Makes sense. I think that might be sort of a mock-up, an engineering thing. They may build something inside of it, like a hab mock-up or cargo mock, or maybe they'll work on an elevator or something like that, like cargo doors or something. But I don't know if that'll ever actually be put on a Starship. Let's grab a couple more. Here's one. Let's see here. Well, I guess this is just the Starship update stream now. Why don't they manufacture Raptors on site? Would it make it cheaper? I mean, they build the Raptors in California at Hawthorne, don't they?
Yes, at least for now, I have heard they are looking at additional manufacturing capability because they're basically out of floor space in Hawthorne right now. So they're going to be building hundreds of Raptors. I mean, I don't know how many they're going to try to build per day, but presumably more than one per day if they're going to be building these ships like crazy. But I think they're going to build them somewhere else. I'm not sure where, but I don't think it's going to be in Boca Chica. It does take... It's not hard to transport a Raptor. Just put it on a truck and ship it. So it's not like a Falcon 9 where, I mean, they've decided it's worth the trade-off to ship it from the factory in Hawthorne, but Blue Origin, on the other hand, is building their rockets on site because they feel like that makes more sense. So I don't think with an engine there's that sort of trade-off where it's, well, should we just build it right next to the launch site because the object is big and it's hard to ship? A Raptor is pretty easy to ship.
You wouldn't try to ship a Starship anywhere. I mean, unless it was shipping itself there, and they're not quite there yet. Manufacturing a Starship in like Toledo and then sending it down to Boca Chica is not a good idea, but manufacturing a Raptor and putting it in a Raptor van is a different story. Especially as long as their Raptor, the needs for the number of Raptors they have is sort of limited. Like you said, once they get into, wow, they need 30-something of these Raptors per spaceship, per booster, per whatever. I was saying like booster plus Starship. That might change the equation some if they're building 10 Starships a week or whatever. Let's see. I'm just going to keep grabbing maybe a couple more. Do they manufacture or smelt their own sheet metal? I don't think so. We see these massive rolls of sheet metal coming into Boca Chica on these big trucks, and we see these deliveries all the time coming from different places, but I don't believe... I mean, I know that SpaceX is not manufacturing that stainless steel there. You may have heard something about SpaceX's... here we go. We got a picture of a rocket engine over here real quick. SpaceX manufacturing their own propellant on site, and it seems like that might be something that they're looking into doing, manufacturing propellant. But manufacturing the steel comes from somewhere else. You might also have heard some special formulation of stainless steel. I know Elon has tweeted about, oh, well, we're doing this special stainless steel for our special needs. Even that would be something that they work with a manufacturer that creates raw material like that to come up with their own special SpaceX formulation, which may very well just be a formulation that they already used elsewhere, and they're just calling it, oh, we need this for the Starships. But no steel mills down there at Boca Chica, right, Michael?
Correct, and we are about to see the second burn of the second stage right here on Falcon 9, so that should come up at T plus 45 minutes and 39 seconds.
Okay. Looks like Jesse's talking. We're not piping that audio through there, y'all. We're just using the feed we get from
Jesse is saying we're about to burn the second stage for a very short burn of 1 second in duration. So we should see a brief puff from the MVAC nozzle if they get video.
There it is. You sound nothing like her, by the way, Michael. This is that one where the burn is so short, you blink and there it is. All right.
That was the 1 second burn of the stage 2 to raise the perigee onto orbit. And now deployment is coming up at 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 56 seconds.
So still another, not quite 20 minutes away from now, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Or just under 20 minutes.
Gotcha. Let's see here. Literally, oh. All right, this question about the high bay and BN1. David Noble saying, with the miscalculation of BN1 and the high bay dimensions, do you think they'll modify the high bay or BN2? So, talk to me about a manufacturing pathfinder. BN1 was a manufacturing pathfinder. Elon Musk has said that it was a pathfinder and it's going to be scrapped. And it seems like one of the paths they may have found was that it didn't fit into the high bay. Because we saw him cut a section off. Did they actually cut a section off of that thing, or was that just...
I'm pretty positive they cut a section off. I'm not sure if it was because the lack of the gantry crane being, I just called it the gantry crane. I'm gonna get fired. It's
That is
the
an
bridge
incorrect.
crane. I made the mistake. I can't believe it. The bridge crane was not installed yet in the high bay. It is now installed. If you look closely, you can actually see that hook hanging down at
Expect
the
to
very
loss of
top, the
signal,
yellow hook.
Diego Garcia.
But that hook is from the bridge crane that was not installed yet when they stacked the booster. So they had to do some hacking and remove the roof from part of the high bay and stick the larger crane we've nicknamed Tankzilla through the roof of the high bay. So that
Yeah.
might have had some effect on how much clearance they had. I'm not sure, but they definitely took a ring off that had like pipes on it and whatnot. So because there was plumbing on it, it did not seem like a ring that was just part of the foundation of the stand they were building it on. It definitely seemed like part of the vehicle. So I think the decision to not test SN or BN1 in any way had been made before they took that ring off, basically.
Gotcha. So we will see exactly what they do with BN1. I see some people online having some questions as to whether or not it'll ever be rolled out. Will it ever be put on a pad at all? Is that part of the pathfinding, or are they literally just going to take it out of the highway and start cutting it apart? What do you think the fate of BN1 is going to be, Michael?
I will say I have heard that it was going to go to Pad A for
Okay.
testing, and they have now installed the thrust simulator. We're pretty sure for SN15 not BN1 at Pad A. So it seems like SN15 is now going to go to Pad A. So that, to me, implies that BN1 is probably not going to go to Pad for testing. I guess there's always the possibility they could change their mind and decide to put BN1 on Pad B instead. But I think whichever pad they put it on might need some minor modifications. So I'm not sure. I'm guessing, if I had to guess, I do not think BN1 is ever going to leave the production site.
Gotcha. It's just one of those things. The experimental program plans are always changing out there. They're upgrading starships, they're upgrading boosters, they're upgrading designs and equipment and how they're going to move things around. So what you hear one day might not be accurate tomorrow, but it's always fun to guess. I know there's a lot of us out here who like to watch what we have from our own roadside rocket science perspective and guess what's going to happen next. So, y'all, I'm going to grab a couple more here, and then we're going to start spooling down the stream. We were covering that Starlink launch. Starlink successfully launched, waiting for the deployment here, and that is still now 15-something minutes away. So let me grab just a couple more super chats here, and we will begin spooling down the stream. Brandon, thank you for the new memberships. Appreciate you there. Dougal coming through with some Canadian dollars saying ahoy hoy. Ahoy hoy, y'all. How's it going, Dougal? Thank you for the support. Longtime supporter there. Nap is a new member. Herman Circus, this is from a while ago. What's the latest info on SN15? That's what we were talking about, doing a little bit of a Starship update here, because I know there's a ton of people interested in that. But looking for SN15 to get rolled out. We'll see how static fires and cryos and all the things that SpaceX decides they need work, and when that means the launch is going to happen. But always flexible out there at Boca Chica. Here's one. Chris Rico says, I heard Starship test only costs 5% of the budget of SpaceX. Could that be true? Love your streams. Keep going. I've never heard SpaceX say anything about what a Starship test costs. Have you, Michael?
No, I don't think the actual tests are that expensive. I'm guessing the most capitally intensive part of the Starship program is building out all the infrastructure and the research and development costs, not the actual, single prototype that goes to the launch pad. So
right.
We're talking about like the testing operations specifically. I would not be surprised at all if it was less than 5% or even much less than 5%, but the actual Starship program is a significant percentage of SpaceX's budget. I have no idea if it's like 40% or 60% or what exactly it is, but a Starship and Starlink are SpaceX's two capitally intensive programs right now.
Yep, that's why Elon wants you to give that down payment on that Starlink dish and promise of service sometime in the future. so he can turn those bucks around and turn them into starships at Boca Chica. So a good question there, Chris. I don't have the exact answer on that one for you. Here's one. We can do this one real quick. Logic Slayer saying, did either of you guys put in Dear Moon applications? Love the great coverage. Michael, you riding one of these things around the moon?
I'm not going to go on a starship around the moon until I have seen it done many times.
You and me both, buddy. I was going to lead with the joke. Wait, Dear Moon, is that the one that's taking a starship? I'd probably ride a Falcon 9. I would definitely ride a Soyuz. Of course, neither of those themselves slated to go around the moon. But the Starship, Dear Moon, I'm going to leave that to the younger generation to ride that thing around the moon. Maybe when I retire and Starship's flown that mission a couple thousand times, I'll think about it. As long as I can disembark before re-entry and come down on a space plane. Thank you. Want
Yeah.
wings when I land.
I didn't apply for Inspiration 4, but I would certainly be comfortable, I think, flying on a Crew Dragon from a safety perspective into low Earth orbit for a couple of orbits or a couple of days, whatever the mission is. I think Starship is still needs to prove itself, to say the least. Falcon 9 currently has, I'm checking my stats right now, Falcon 9 is currently on a success streak of 84 missions in a row. That's 87 if you include Falcon Heavy. So Falcon 9 is a very proven launch vehicle at this point.
Yeah, definitely not too shabby there. Let's see, folks. I do think that we're going to start spooling down the stream here. We are starting to get some of the photos and stuff like that. Did we get a photo or anything from Steven yet, like a launch photo? I thought I saw
Looks
one.
like he just tweeted it. So we can get that linked in chat. Make sure you all go show Steven some support. He was one of our launch photographers for this mission. I'm going to spam the link in chat so you can find it there.
I'm actually looking at this real quick to see if I can. There you go. Is that going to work with this? It should just work. Let me see if it just works, Michael. But again, folks, we do appreciate all the support. There's one hanging super chat there from Bone Z. Will SpaceX launch 240 Starlink sats with an expendable upper stage while working on landing if it's still steeper than 4 Falcon 9 missions? Expendable upper stage Starship launches? Never heard of those. Have you ever heard of that, Michael?
Yeah, I've not heard of anything like that myself.
Okay. And here we go with this. Check this out. Here's Stephen Marr, folks, one of the NASA spaceflight photographers at SpaceCoast_STVE on Twitter. We'll get that link into chat. Frame it correctly, exactly. There you go. Now you can see his actual name. And if you scroll down, here is a photo from the launch today. Just 3 minutes ago, Stephen saying, hey, that's Bob and Doug's booster with B-1058 leaving Earth for the 7th time. And that is a photo from him today. We'll get that link to his Twitter profile in the chat as well. But I just wanted to bring that up really quickly. Did we get another? Oh, yeah, here you go. Got to have that liftoff shot, he says. So another one of the very talented NASA spaceflight team members out there at the Cape today, and that is some of his launch photography. Make sure you head on over to Twitter, toss him a follow. I think he's got a place where you can buy prints of stuff like this as well. I think you'll see it linked up there on his Twitter. But another cool way, support people that help share this content, and Stephen Marr, definitely one of the fantastic folks that we work with to help bring these experiences to people. So anyways, Michael, I think we're probably coming up on what we could mark as the end of the stream here. Do you agree?
Yes, I am getting, somebody did ask me one thing I want to take a look at really quickly on this robot. I am logging in, and here we go. So apparently, if you look, I'm going to remove the ticker so we can see better.
Okay.
If you look, there are some domes in the foreground, and we'll see if this is true. I'm being told that this one has a lot of mounting points on it, so the second one from the right here appears to be a super heavy thrust dome. if you look closely, you can see they have a lot of holes
Oh.
for plumbing points and a lot of pipes at the top. So that looks to me like a super heavy thrust dome.
So of the two here, the one on the left, right?
Yes, now it's on the
Blue,
left. Before it
correct?
was on the right. Now I moved the camera and it's on the left. But you
Right,
can see
right.
there's a lot of places for piping. So that might be the thrust dome to accommodate 28 Raptor engines.
No kidding. Just right there outside one of the, we call those onion tents, don't we? Out there at Boca Chica. And that might at some point get flipped around and put on a super heavy booster. We'll see if Mary sneaks around there, right? Mary goes over and takes photos of the, she doesn't sneak, they know she's there. The labels they put on the side. It's got this blue tape and a sheet of paper, and sometimes on those labels you can see what different elements sitting around the yard at Boca Chica are. So it'll be interesting to see if she's got a photo of that, and it may say like BN3 thrust dome or something on the side. But if those labels are there, I guarantee you Mary will get a shot of them, and that'll be a part of a daily video if it hasn't already been. I can't memorize all the daily videos because we make one every day. But folks, earlier here on the stream, you saw the launch of a Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral. Slick 40 out there taking 60 Starlink satellites up. Those will hopefully successfully deploy in a little while here. They're still coasting along after that successful second stage circularization burn. That orbit burn on the second stage. And then we cut over to do some live Q&A just about Starship. I know that everybody is always curious what's going on at Boca Chica, when hop, etc., all the different things. So since we had the robotic feed spooled up there, figured we'd share that really quickly and just show. Again, in the background in the high bay there, you can see SN15, the shiny Starship that will be rolling out. And when it rolls out, the NASA spaceflight team will be here to bring you live coverage of that event. So if you haven't yet, make sure you follow the channel here, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Just click the little notifier, thumbs up to, I don't know how many likes we have. Geez, not very many. Y'all didn't like the Falcon 9 launch? Seriously? I'm kidding. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, you get notified. We don't go live unless there's something cool going on. That's our promise to you. We have to have it on good authority that there will be something worth seeing before either Michael or I click that go live button. And also, make sure you follow on Twitter. @NASASpaceflight is a fantastic way if you don't trust those YouTube notifications. I know they can be finicky sometimes. Just about every time we go live, the boss over there, Chris Bergen, that runs the @NASASpaceflight Twitter account, will do a post with a link to the live stream there as well. So if you haven't done that yet, you want to find your way back, that's how you can do it.
Acquisition of signal, Tasmania.
And apparently they've acquired the signal at Tasmania as well. But that is going to bring us to the end of our stream here. Out in the field today, we had Thomas Berghart from the Cape over on the ITL Causeway, crewing the remote camera. He has already had to pack up and take off. That's why the teamwork, I'm not going to say makes the dream work here. That's too yeah. Anyways, that's why the teamwork works. That doesn't sound as cool, but whatever. He was out there today. Also back in the studio, Chris Gebhardt joined us for a little while. Had a time where he had to take off there as well. Assistant managing editor for NASA Spaceflight. And then closing it down here, back in the studio, Michael Baylor. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
No problem, and I'm going to make you go back to the SpaceX feed because we are not going to end the stream 2 minutes before satellite deployment. I am sorry, DOS, but we're going to stay live.
So you're saying that I should talk slowly here until we get video of the satellites deploying, right?
Yes, but you can do your outro. I will move the info card to your name.
Well, I'm just going to talk really slowly here, I guess. Also back in the studio here, folks, my name is John Galloway for NASA Spaceflight. If you're watching me over on Twitch, you may know me as DOS. Did what, 6-something years of streaming? Michael, I was looking at the bot I have over on my Twitch channel, and that bot was installed in November of 2014. So
wow.
I started streaming on Twitch either late August or early September. It was sort of one of those things like, oh, try a stream. Oh, don't stream for a couple days. Oh, try it again. And, you know, what date I actually start on Twitch, I don't know. But it was in the fall of 2014. 2014? Jeez. A while ago. Over on the Twitch side. But everybody watching on Twitch, thank y'all for your longtime support. I get sub notifiers pop up over there. They're like 72 months, and these other crazy numbers. So if you're watching over on Twitch, I know that I'm not reading his chat as much. Got a lot of things to juggle, but I do appreciate y'all's support over on the Twitch side.
1 minute to kill.
What time was that? What time was that going to happen again? Like
1:03:06, I think. I'm double checking. Yes, 1:03:56. So we got 2
Oh.
minutes or 1 minute 30 seconds to kill. But the 60 Starlink satellites are about to deploy. The second stage is now spinning up for that, so it's gonna spin kind of in a fast circle, if you will, and it's gonna fling the Starlink satellites out like a deck of cards. So it will use that spinning to kind of cause the Starlink satellites to fan out and spread apart from one another, and without using any, propulsive mechanisms or springs or whatever sort of hardware you want to call it to separate the satellites. It just uses the rotational forces of the second stage. It's kind of cool and something unique to SpaceX. That is a new thing they came up with, and I think the way they packed in the 60 Starlink satellites kind of caught a lot of people by surprise.
I'm wondering if she's telling us that we're not going to have a expected video from this deployment here.
Well, they're
I don't know if
coming
she's
up on
disappointed or not.
coming up on New Zealand, it looks like. So hopefully they have the tracking station in New Zealand, and hopefully they are, over the horizon, because they are passing to the south. It looks like between Antarctica and New Zealand right now on that map.
Yeah, I just realized that's Antarctica and Australia on the map there, and then New Zealand off to the right of the stage too.
That's how fast you travel at
Yeah.
orbital velocities. This rocket took off 1 hour and 50 seconds, or 1 minute, 3 minutes and 50 seconds ago from Cape Canaveral, and it is now between Australia and Antarctica.
Payload deployment
For a
confirmed.
second,
We'll
that
see
was a
if we get the video.
we just got to
Heard the call out. So
Yeah, there was a call
they
out.
confirmed the separation, but we're not seeing video yet. Hopefully, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
There go the tension rods. There go the satellites, and you can see the sun starting to rise on the horizon, which is kind of cool.
Those things they're moving today. Do they normally move that fast?
I think so.
It's like a rapid deployment. Clearly, again, there's not anything. It's just like some springs and that big rod we saw jump away. You can see the horizon. That's the limb of the Earth in the background. But they literally just make the rocket move and then let the things go, and they just sort of fan out on their own. They're actually designed to bump into each other some. Like, it's okay if they bump together some, right, Michael?
Yeah, that's correct. It's kind of a slight bit of bumper cars as they separate, but looks like we have lost all our video feeds, so you can end the stream now.
We don't have any video feeds left. That's not true. We've got Fleet Cam. We still have Fleet Cam over there from Port Canaveral. But folks, that is going to end our live coverage of both the SpaceX Falcon 9 launch carrying 60 Starlink satellites from Cape Canaveral today, and a little bit of Boca Chica content there as well. Views of SN15 back in the high bay waiting for its rollout. If you haven't yet, make sure you follow the channel so you can get back here. All the support that came in today, all the super chats and stuff like that. Thank y'all so much for the support. Also, all the good questions. There's always tons of questions that come in. We can never get to all of them. But that is going to end our live coverage here of that today. If you want to keep hanging out with like-minded space friends, Fleet Cam's actually live 24/7. We'll get the link to Fleet Cam in chat there, but Fleet Cam will keep on keeping on, and you can continue to chat about Starship or fleet operations or Falcon 9 launches or whatever you want over there in the Fleet Cam chat. There's always a bunch of space fans literally just hanging out, even when there's not much going on like today. Not a lot of activity there in the port, except for that fancy yacht that would be really nice to watch a launch from. Maybe that's what they were doing today. But NASA Spaceflight team here is going to be signing off, and appreciate everybody watching us today. Head on over to Fleet Cam if you want. I will get the link to Fleet Cam in chat, like I said real quick. There's the link to Fleet Cam in chat. There we go. Patrick's got it as well. Thanks, Patrick. Head on over that way if you want to keep hanging out with space friends. We're shutting this stream down. and we will see you nerds later. As always, thanks for the support. Thanks for sharing this launch with us today. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal. Alright, the chamber pressure looks good. Starling up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water tower, fly!
Flight downside of speed off. Speed off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.